My name is Jenny, and I'm a wife and mom raising 2 kids. But I used to live a more glamorous life as a TV reporter. I was on the nightly news interviewing pop stars and politicians. So when I said goodbye to TV and hello to motherhood, I suddenly discovered what we moms are up against. We live in a world that tells us to be rich and famous, thin and successful. You know, almost nobody says, "Oh, hey, you're a mom? That is fabulous." But you are fabulous, and I'm here to tell you why.
It's the Channel Mom Show, celebrating you with Jenny Dean Schmidt.
Brought to you by the Healthy Marriage Project. Just click on one of their ads to find out about a healthy relationship workshop near you. Okay, I just had to let Bono do his thing there. I gotta turn my mic up.
Arguably the best band of all time.
I know, I love them. And I love it when they sing about Christmas, so that's cool. Thank you, Bono. Personal friend.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Channel Mom Show. We're so glad to have you. We are here for you, Mom. All righty. Would you like your precious child or children to be successful adults?
They're going to have to move out someday.
Yeah, they are. They are. And I waver on this because we just had this wonderful police officer on last segment that talked about how we need to be compassionate and generous and kind and loving, and he's right. But there is such a thing as overdoing the kindness factor, or what we call kindness, with our children and making them too soft. So this gentleman knows what he's talking about. He has been a teacher for 35 years, 34 of the 35 at Pomona High School in Arvada. He's also been a coach, a head basketball coach at Pomona from 1996 to 2003. So he's worked both in capacity as teacher and coach. So he knows what he's talking about when it comes to kids. He's also raised 2 sons of his own who are now grown men. He's written a book called Your Kid's Too Soft, Welcome to the Old School. So welcome to the show, Tim Smiley. Please tell us, what does it mean when your kid's too soft?
Well, Jenny, first of all, thanks for having me. Very excited to be here. And the book is a product of really my career, and about 25 years into it or so, I just found there was a little bit of a change in kids. And I've always found, the students that I dealt with to be really positive kids.
Yeah.
And they still are. But my perspective is that it had changed a little bit, and they become a little bit soft in terms of their approach to what I think are really fundamental things that we need young adults to have.
Like what?
Well, one of the most obvious one was the issue of timeliness. And so, I refer in my book to the 4 keys of success. And what I'm referring to is you only have to do 4 things to really succeed in life or in any endeavor. And that's 1, be here. Show up. You got to show up.
Yeah.
Number 2, you got to be here on time. Number 3, you have to maximize your efforts in whatever you're doing. It doesn't matter if it's, school, athletics, personal relationships, or whatever. You have to make your maximum effort. And the hardest one is number 4, which is to know when to ask for help. And that's very difficult for people in a lot of realms. The timeliness issue, number 2, is the issue where I first, really started to see issues in terms of how important it was to them to be on time.
That's a discipline thing, too, partly, just not being disciplined, right?
Oh, for sure, that's exactly what it is. And I think the school systems used to really invoke discipline, and so for example, probably when you and I, although we're of different
that different
different time zones, when we were high school kids, there was always an assistant principal that was in charge of attendance, discipline, et cetera. And that system's changed. That no longer exists in most places.
Most places. I'm going to defend Platte Canyon High School.
Okay.
My husband is the principal, and he's also been he's also the head football coach there, and he's also been a teacher. And kids may even complain about him and his assistant principal because they are very strict. Very strict.
Well, that's a good thing.
It is.
Yeah.
But I think that he would probably agree with you that there's been a falling away in the last 15 to 20 years with sort of mental toughness and even physical toughness, stick-to-itiveness, being able to bounce back, being able to willing to do the hard work. what's happened? Is it just video driven? Is that the problem? Is it screens that have robbed our kids of being able to be tough and disciplined? And
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's really hard to pin down one thing. I think the biggest thing that and what you just mentioned is certainly part of it, but I think the biggest thing we have is we've lost our way a little bit in terms of parenting and educators. It's not just on the parents, but parents are the primary providers in terms of providing activities or expectations or whatever that help develop the toughness. Mm-hmm. And so you can't just wake up in the morning and be resilient. You have to go through experiences that make you that way.
Yeah. Now, do we overprotect our kids? I mean, do we, when you know what I mean? When they get injured on the field, is mom standing right there on the sideline what's happening there? 'Cause
well,
if a mom's listening today who thinks, well, is my kid too soft? Or are you accusing me of being too gentle with my kid? What does it look like when a kid's too soft?
Well, the first thing that I would say in response to that is, I'm not coming at this from the point of view of an anger specialist or someone who really wants kids to be physically violent or anything like that. We're not coming from that point of view. It's really a mental issue more than anything, and I think the number one thing that has happened, the best example I could give you is in society. It's a societal thing. The concept that everybody gets a trophy.
Oh, this makes my husband crazy.
At the end of the experience, everybody is going to get a trophy.
And what are we robbing our kids of when we say you got a trophy even though you didn't play very well, and even though you didn't excel, and even though you didn't practice? What are we showing our kids, and are we robbing them of something for adulthood?
Yeah, I think we're robbing them of reality. Mm-hmm. I don't think we're really saying, it's okay if you didn't get the trophy this time. You might want to kind of focus on what's important to you and work towards maybe getting the trophy next time. Maybe you didn't have the highest score on the exam. Maybe you weren't in the top 10 on the exam, but maybe you can make that list the next time. And I think, having the experience to build the drive is really what we got to culture.
Okay. So we want to get to that, but first, can you give me an example of what a kid in a classroom that you had, or a kid on a basketball team that you had, looked like? What did it look like when you thought, oh my goodness, this kid's too soft and somebody's not parenting them?
Sure. I'll give you the athletic example first. My first couple of years at Pomona as a head coach in 1995, 1996, we had some young players that had some really nice potential at a younger level. There were two specific big kids. One's first name was Chris, and one's first name was James, and they were really large guys as sophomores. They were 6'5" kind of kids. And the problem is that we had a level 3 game, level 3 coach. Coach Mackin was an exceptional coach, and they lost a game, and he was pretty frustrated at the end of the game. And so we were having a coaches meeting afterwards, and I said, Danny, the problem you have here is that your guys are too slow. You can't play both big guys at one time. It's like two dinosaurs plodding, through the swamp. It just isn't going to happen. So I said, so let's do this. Let's tell the two guys, James and Chris, let's tell them that they're now in competition with each other. And whoever's the dominant guy is going to get most of the playing time. The other guy's not going to get near as much playing time, and it's not going to be equal just because we want to be nice guys. They're going to have to compete. So in the end, the story was fascinating to watch. The one, and they're both great guys. The one guy, James, just wilted in the competition scenario and ended up quitting the team about 2 or 3 weeks later. The other kid, as a sophomore, became the dominant guy, Chris, and ended up, it just keyed him into a work ethic that was unbelievable. Became just a beast in the weight room. Became a Division I basketball player.
Who do you play for?
Played for Columbia in New York City.
Uh-huh.
And in the end, today is a financial consultant making hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I have no doubt he would tell you if he were sitting here today that was a key turning point for him, because he could see a point where if he became more competitive, became more dominant, better physically, et cetera, that he would have a chance to really get what he earned.
Yeah. Shelley, I'm going to ask you have a question, but I want to say something really quick. We got 4 minutes left. Is it unpopular and unpolitically correct to tell your kid, you got to compete for this and you may fail, or you got to work hard, or you've got to discipline yourself, or you weren't cutting it? I mean, is that politically incorrect now?
Actually, I think it's just the opposite. I think people want to hear the truth. And I think, of course, you have to be careful how you present it. Mm-hmm. And it's a situation where in the time, the book's been out for about a year and a half now. And in that time, I've talked to countless number of people about the book, and I've yet to run into one person that says, you're wrong. This isn't true. Oh. Everybody says, you're right. This is exactly what's going on. So I think the truth is that everybody wants their kid to succeed.
Absolutely.
I've never found a parent that didn't love their kid immensely and didn't want their kid to succeed. So the question is, how do you get down that road? And you don't get down the road by having a non-competitive kid, a kid that doesn't have great work ethic. And so that's what we're trying to promote in the book. And there's a lot of ways to do it. There's not just one way. And the book is really a compendium of examples of that.
Okay. 2 minutes left, Shell. Do you have a quick question? And you
Sure,
can have a quick answer.
Give me one tip. I have teenagers.
Uh-huh.
They're as most teenagers want to do the minimum.
Sure.
To get the best grade that they can get with the minimum work, or they want to make the team, but they're not willing to show up every day for the 6 a.m. practice.
Sure.
One tip in 1 minute.
What's it going to turn them?
In 1 minute.
Well, and we'll get to more tips. I want moms to stay tuned, because we're going to have more tips about how you can help your kid in this area.
I think I think to begin with, Shelley, I think it you want to ideally culture things from a young age, but the truth is, you can come up with some kind of creative way to say, for example, if it's a discipline issue, you got to do this, or here's the consequence. And the consequence has to be something that really isn't very appealing to them. So for example, in my book, one of the things I talk about, I really admire a lady, a single mom who raised both kids pretty much herself. And the one young guy who wasn't doing what he ought to do grade-wise, his dad, the ex-husband, gave him a new truck. Well, she took it away. I mean, he had it like 2 days, and she removed it from him. And I thought, wow, that's an amazing move. She didn't even give him the truck, and she took it away. Well, until he got better grades, he couldn't have it back. And that went for about 2 months, and sure enough, he got better grades. So there was a consequence.
It took 2 months, though.
Took 2 months.
And when we come back, I want to hear if that actually changed his future life pattern. So Tim, you're going to tell us. We're going to be back with Tim Smalley, the author of Your Kid's Too Soft. Welcome to the old school. And he's going to give you some more tips, and we're going to find out what happened to that kid that had to turn his life around to get his truck back.